management is the process of learning how to control and reduce the emotional responses that arise from anger. It's about understanding the root causes of our anger, recognizing when it is building up, and using effective strategies to keep our emotions in check. Anger, if left unchecked, anger can lead to harm, whether it's hurting our relationships, our well-being, or even making decisions we later regret. But the good news is that anger can be managed and anger can be channelized in healthier ways. Before we dive into today's main speech, let's start with a story that highlights an important lesson about managing anger. This story will give us valuable insights into how we can take control of our emotions and create a peaceful and balanced life. So let's start the story. Once upon a time, Buddha was sitting with his disciples when one of them asked, "Lord, how can we control our anger?" Buddha smiled and said, "I will tell you a story. By listening to this, you will understand how to manage your anger." The story begins in a village where a quarrelsome lady lived. She would get angry over the smallest things and would often speak hurtful words in her rage. When her anger faded, she would regret her words. But it was too late. Her family was upset and there was always tension in their home. One day, a wise monk arrived at her door asking for food. She shared her problem with him, saying, "I get angry very easily. Even when I want to control it, I can't. Please tell me how to overcome this," she asked. The monk listened carefully and then he took out a small bottle from his bag and handed it to her. "This is a special medicine," he said. "Whenever you feel angry, put 4 drops of this on your tongue and keep it in your mouth for 10 minutes. Do not open your mouth during this time. If you do, the medicine won't work." The lady followed the monk's instructions and within a week found herself no longer reacting with anger. She felt a sense of peace both inside and in her home. When the monk returned a week later, she fell at his feet, grateful. "Oh, wise one," she said, "this medicine has worked wonderful. I no longer get angry and my home is peaceful now." The monk smiled gently and he replied, "There was no medicine in that bottle. It was filled with just water. What helped you control your anger was the act of keeping silent. By staying quiet, you are able to stop yourself from speaking hurtful words. It is silence that has healed you, not the medicine." After telling the story, Buddha explained to his disciples, anger can only be controlled by silence. When a person is angry, they speak hurtful words which only create more conflict. The true cure for anger is to stay quiet. If we reflect on our own lives, we often find ourselves getting angry, losing our composure. During such moments, our minds stop working rationally and we speak without thinking. We say things that we regret later, words that hurt others and even ourselves, such a way we speak. Anger can lead to mental and physical violence, which we may end up regretting for the rest of our lives. Physical violence in particular, it often happens in moments of anger. But remember, anger lasts only for a few moments. If we can stay silent during those moments, we can avoid any unnecessary fights and regrets. Silence can save us from making impulsive decisions that lead to harm. feel anger, whenever you feel anger rising, remember the simple and powerful solution that is called silence. Take a few moments to keep your mouth closed and calm your mind. By doing so, you will avoid many troubles and find peace. Because anger is something we all experience, but it can come in different shapes and intensities. It can range from mild irritation to full-blown rage. Have you ever felt your heart racing or your blood pressure rising when you are angry? That's because anger triggers a response in our bodies, releasing stress hormones like adrenaline. What causes anger? It could be external factors like someone cutting you off in traffic or an argument with a coworker. Or it could be internal like replaying personal problems in your mind. Even past traumatic events, they can resurface and trigger that anger. So it's not always about the situation at hand, but how we respond to that situation that's matter. When anger spikes, our instinct is often to react aggressively. It's a part of how we are wired. Anger can be a proactive response, driving us to fight when we feel threatened. But in today's world, we can't lash out at everyone or everything that makes us angry. Society sets boundaries, reminding us that we need to express ourselves in healthy, controlled ways. Now, when we talk about expressing anger, we have options. There are three main ways. People tend to cope with anger: expressing, suppressing, and calming down. Expressing anger assertively, not aggressively. It is one of the healthiest ways to handle it. It's about clearly stating what you need without disrespecting others. You don't need to be rude or forceful. Assertiveness is about being clear and respectful. Some people try to suppress their anger, pushing it down and redirecting it elsewhere. This can be helpful in the short term, but if you don't release your anger in some way, it can build up and turn inward. This might cause issues like stress, depression, or even physical problems like high blood pressure. On the other hand, some people try to calm themselves down. This is about controlling not just our actions, but our inner reactions too. It's about finding ways to relax and reduce the physical symptoms of anger. But what happens when anger is left unchecked? It can lead to negative behaviors like passive aggression or chronic cynicism, which only makes things worse. If you are constantly criticizing or being hostile, your relationships are likely to suffer. Managing anger is about more than just stopping it in the moment. It's about learning how to control both the emotional and physical responses it triggers. The anger triggers. Well, we can't always avoid the people or situations that make us angry. We can learn how to control how we react. Do any of you feel that anger can sometimes take over? If so, you are not alone. Many people struggle with this. The good news is that it's possible to learn to handle anger in a more controlled and healthy way. So, how do we know if our anger is becoming a problem? If you find that your anger leads to behavior that feels out of control or frightening to others, it might be time to take a step back and figure out a better approach. How many of you have ever gotten so angry that you did something you regretted? It's common and it's a sign that we need to work on managing those emotions. Some people are naturally more prone to anger than others. There are those who get angry easily and intensely, while others might not show their anger outwardly, but are always irritable or withdrawn. Why does this happen? It could be due to genetic or the way we were raised. Some of us come from environments where anger was common, or we never learned how to express it healthily. And sometimes it's about our expectations. When things don't go as we think they should, frustration builds up, turning it into anger. There is a popular belief. There is a popular belief that letting it all out is the best way to deal with anger. But research shows the opposite. Instead of making us feel better, letting our anger it explode tends to escalate the situation and harms our relationships. It's better to understand what's triggering your anger and develop strategies to manage it before it gets out of your hand. So, how can we keep anger at bay? One effective strategy is relaxation. You can practice deep breathing, slow down your thoughts, or visualize a peaceful place. These simple tools can help you calm down in the heat of the moment. Have any of you tried breathing deeply when you are angry? It works because it is directly reduces the physical signs of anger. Another strategy is cognitive restructuring, which is just a fancy way of saying you should change the way you think when you are angry. When you are upset, it's easy to think things are worse than they really are. But instead of saying this is awful, everything is ruined, try saying this is frustrating, but it's not the end of the world. By thinking more rationally, we can stop our anger from taking control. Also be mindful of your language. Using extreme words like always or never, it can make a situation seem much worse than it is. Instead, focus on expressing your needs calmly and acknowledging that frustration is a natural response. Saying, I would like, instead of I demand. It helps keep things in perspective. Think before you speak. We have all said things in the heat of the moment that we regret later. When you feel that anger rising, just take a moment to breathe and collect your thoughts. You will find that when you pause, you can respond much more calmly and thoughtfully. Once you have cooled down. Once you have cooled down, it's a time to express your concerns clearly. You don't have to shout, you don't have to place blame on others. Simply state what's bothering you in a way that's direct but respectful. You are not trying to control anyone, you are just letting them know how you feel. Now, let's talk about getting some exercise. Physical activity, it is a great way to release mental stress. Whether it is a brisk walk, a run, or any other physical activity you enjoy. Moving your body, it can actually help calm your mind. So, the next time you feel anger building up, try to get moving, even if it is just for a few minutes. Another simple trick is to take a time out. It's not just for kids. We all need moments of quiet, especially when the day is overwhelming. Giving yourself short breaks during stressful times, it can make a world of difference. After a brief pause, you will feel more prepared. You will feel more prepared to face whatever ahead. Sometimes, instead of getting stuck on what made you angry, it helps you to focus on finding a solution. For example, if you are frustrated with your child's messy room, instead of getting mad, maybe just close the door. If you are upset because someone is always late for dinner, consider eating at a different time. Remember, you can't control everything, but you can manage your response. When we feel angry, it's easy to point fingers, but using I statements, it can help keep the conversation calm. Instead of saying, you always leave your clothes around, try saying, I feel frustrated when I see clothes left out because it makes the space feel cluttered. This shifts. This shifts the conversation from blame to how you feel. And here is a big one. Don't hold a grudge. Don't hold a grudge. Holding on to anger only makes things worse for you. Forgiveness is not about letting someone off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of anger. Let go and you will feel lighter and more at peace. Humor can also be a powerful tool when dealing with anger. Using humor to release tension, it can change your perspective. For example, if something or someone is irritating you, try to see the funny side of it. Picture a silly scenario in your mind to break the anger cycle. But remember, sarcasm is not the same as humor. It can make things worse. Relaxation skills are another great way to keep your anger in check. When you feel your temper flaring, try deep breathing or picture a calming scene. If you like, you could even listen to music or do some light stretches. Whatever works. Whatever works to help you calm down and think more clearly. And of course, it's important to know when to ask for help. If you find that your anger is taking control of your life, causing problem in your relationships or leading to actions you regret, don't hesitate to seek help. Talking to a professional, it can help you learn new ways to manage your anger. Sometimes anger comes from real problems that are out of control, that are out of our control. It's important to remember that not every problem has solution, and that's okay, accept it. The key is to focus on how you face the problem, not just the problem itself. Make a plan and give it your best effort. If things don't improve right away, don't be too hard on yourself. Another tip is to slow down when talking. When you are angry, it's easy to jump to a conclusion, but that's not always productive. If you find yourself in a heated conversation, take a step back, listen carefully to the other person and think before you speak. Sometimes a simple change of environment, it can help. If you are feeling overwhelmed, take a break. If your home feels chaotic, give yourself a few minutes of peace before jumping into the fray. For instance, if you are a parent, set a rule for a quiet time when you come home from work. This can help you. This can help you recharge and approach the situation calmly. If something is consistently making you angry, like your commute or child's messy room, consider finding alternatives. Maybe there is a less stressful route you can take, or maybe you can put that mess out of sight until you are in a better frame of mind. Finally, remember that counseling can help. Counseling can help if you feel that your anger is becoming unmanageable. A professional can work with you to develop new strategies for managing your emotions. Anger is a part of life. It's normal to feel angry from time to time, but we have the power to control how we respond to that anger. By practicing these tips, we can handle anger in a way that doesn't hurt ourselves or others. The goal is not to eliminate anger, but to manage it so that it doesn't control us. Let's take a moment to reflect what makes you angry and what steps can you take today to manage that anger better. As we are coming to the conclusion to this speech, let us reflect on the lessons from the story we just heard, along with another important story about anger management. This story teaches a profound lesson about managing anger and understanding the lasting impact of our words and actions. Let me walk you through the detailed explanation. Once upon a time, in a small town, there lived a young boy with a very short temper. He would often shout at anyone, anywhere, without giving a second thought to his words he spoke. His anger would cause him to use offensive and hurtful language, which made people around him dislike that boy. Despite his parents' best efforts to help him manage his anger, he was unable to control his outbursts. They tried. Parents tried different methods, but nothing seemed to work, and the boy became increasingly frustrated with himself. One day, his father noticing his struggle, he gave him an unusual task. He handed him a bag full of nails and a hammer and asked him to hammer a nail into the fence each time he got angry. Initially, the boy found the idea quite funny and strange, but reluctantly agreed to do it. Each time the boy felt angry, he would run to the fence and hammer in a nail. And the first day, he hammered 30 nails into the fence, and by the second day, he hammered 20 nails. Over the course of a week, he had hammered nearly 150 nails. But with each passing day, he became more aware of his behavior, and slowly he started to control his temper. The number of nails he hammered into the fence began to decrease. Finally, after some time, the day came when the boy did not feel the urge to hammer any nails into the fence. He was proud. He was proud of himself for controlling his anger and decided to share his achievement with his father. The father, pleased with the progress, then gave him the next task. Every time the boy successfully controlled his anger, he was to remove one nail from the fence. The boy agreed, and over the next few days, he managed to remove all the nails. He went to his father once again, eagerly reporting that the task was completed. His father, now with a serious tone, took the boy to the fence and pointed to the holes left behind by the nails. He asked the boy, "What do you see?" The boy replied, "There are holes in the fence." The father said, "Son, you have learned to control your anger, and that's a great achievement, but look at this fence, it still has holes in it. No matter how many times you remove the nails, the holes will remain. Just like the scars that anger leaves on the hearts of others. The hurtful words you say may be forgotten by you, but they will leave a lasting impact on those who are the harsh words." This story teaches us a crucial lesson. Our words, especially when we are angry, we can have lasting effects on others, even if we don't intend to cause harm. Just like the fence, once the damage is done, it can be impossible to fully repair. The boy learned that while controlling his anger was important, he also had to be aware of how his words could hurt others. Healing the damage caused by harsh words, it takes time and effort, just as it takes time to mend the holes in the fence. The story emphasizes that anger, if not controlled, it can lead to violence, regret, and emotional scars on others. It's not just about managing anger in the moment, but also about developing patience, empathy, and self-awareness to prevent unnecessary harm. We should always pause and think before reacting in anger. As harsh words, they can leave permanent scars that may never fully heal. Moreover, this story highlights the importance of self-control, especially when we are faced with situations that provoke anger. Anger often clouds our judgment. Anger clouds our judgment, making it difficult to think clearly. It can lead to impulsive actions and violent outbursts, as we see in many tragic situations, including in prison populations where many people end up behind bars because of a momentary lapse in controlling their anger. The core message of this story is simple but powerful. Always think before you speak, or before you act in anger. We must learn to control our emotions and understand the impact of our words and actions they can have on others. Why it's important to manage anger, it's just as vital to be mindful of the lasting effects our words can have, especially on the people we care. It also teaches us that patience, empathy, and self-awareness, they are key to preventing unnecessary pain and unnecessary regret. So the next time you feel your anger rising, remember the lessons from this story. Anger may cause immediate harm, but controlling it will save you from long-term regret and emotional scar.